Let's see. I'm not sure why this isn't. Oh, we're live. So let's have us a conversation. Let's talk about a few things. Last night we got the verdict over the Derek Chauvin case, and that was a huge win. Um, Speaking to some friends of mine, we we talked about um, he said that it was a win for the African American community. And I kind of shut that down. I said that no, I think this is a win for Americans. I think this is a win for the people. Because you got one bad cop off the street that is policing everyone, not just black folks. And after the conviction of Derek Chauvin, we not even an hour later, I don't believe, we had a 15-year-old girl be shot and killed by police. And now we have all the emotional sides of things. We have people talking about protests. We have folks talking about police reform. We have a lot of things going on. So let's talk about it just for a few minutes. Every once in a while, I'll get on our Mondays over Fridays podcast, and I'll do a solo dolo, which means I'm just on here by myself talking about stuff from the kitchen of my home. So let's talk. Let's dive into this 15-year-old girl from Ohio who was shot and killed by the police. If we were to take the social media aspect out of things, how they sensationalize things, and if we were to take the news out of things where they bring things to you right now, if we were to take this out of the equation, we would still have an emotional class of people when it comes to dealing with the police. And here's what I mean. Black folks are very emotional in situations. I talked about this last night on the podcast, and it's going to be out in a couple of days once I get done editing and all that stuff. But it's going to be out in a couple of days. And we talked about the emotional side of being pulled over. And we talked about how a lot of police will tell you that when they pull over someone that is a person of color, they have a heightened sense of awareness. I guess they are more um, on their p's and q's, so to speak. And um, we being an emotional folk, it can get us in a lot of trouble. Now, I can already see the eyes rolling, and the people who know me or the people who don't know me. Who is this big head nigga up here talking all this stuff? Who is he? He don't know what he's talking about. Well, I've been on the side of the barrel of a gun. I've seen my experience. I've been through the experience of dealing with police, and I know this for a fact, not emotion. They will kill you, and they will go to court. More than likely, they will walk out of there free because you were an emotional person. Um, I'm talking low because my wife's in there. She's on her conference calls and all that stuff, so I don't want to interfere with that. So I'm very upset about this. Last night, in fact, I watched the video and teared up a bit, because I got a 15-year-old kid at home, and this girl was a sizable girl. She was a big girl. So ain't no way that cop knew that she was 15 years old. Yeah, hey, let's talk about this. Um, Police get that call. Someone has a knife. Apparently, and I'm just going based off the information that I know. These are not. Don't hold me to facts. I'm still waiting to get a lot of the information in, and so don't hold me to it. I'm still doing some research on some things. So some of the stuff that I may say may not 100% be accurate. I'm just going by what I've seen so far. So hold me to what I've seen so far. She called the police saying that they were jumping her, and the police responded. Here's the deal. I think that if you had enough time to peacefully call the police and say, hey, somebody's jumping me, and they ask you what your address is, you tell them the address, and you have all that time to call the police and get them out there. You had enough time to think. You had enough time to keep your ass in the house. And I'm not victim shaming. There's a lot of blame to go around here. I also put blame on whatever adults were around. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he posted on the Facebook. He said, that the parents were at fault, or she might have had bad guidance, and I kind of shut that down too by saying, "Hey, we all don't know the situation. We don't know if her parents were good or not. I mean, I've been in situations to where I let my emotions get out of control, and it could have cost me by going to jail or being dead somewhere. And I have great, my mother raised me well. I have great uncles, great grandmother. I'm surrounded by some of the best people, but we all know that emotions get the best of people. So it's not about being raised right. And I see folks throwing that out there. Oh, she wasn't raised right. Where's the home training and this, that, and the other. If you are a 15-year-old kid and you're in fear of your life and you feel the need that you needed to go grab a knife, that's pretty damn serious. I think that's pretty damn serious because I'm pretty sure that girl knows right from wrong at 15 years old. So anyway, police pull up. That's when I see the brawl fight, the brawl start. And one girl gets knocked down. She gets kicked in the head. That's when you see the police officer draw his weapon, because obviously in the video, you see the knife swipe across the screen, and she turns and goes toward the other girl, pins her against the car, and looks in the motion of getting ready to stab her. That's when you hear the first shot. Bam. A couple things in that situation. Number one, he didn't know she was 15 years old. Fact. Maybe not fact. He's on 15-year-olds in the call. Okay. 15, he didn't know she was 15 years old, is what I'm saying. Thinking. Number two, you see a knife, you respond to that. And what people don't understand is this is not the movies. You meet force with force. If someone kicks in my door, back door right there, and they got a gun or a knife, I'm not going to meet them with a spoon or a butter knife. I'm going to meet them with a gun. For those of you say that, oh, that person only has a knife, have you ever seen the effects of a knife and the damage that they can do? They're more dangerous than guns. If you don't believe me, just Google it, YouTube, and look at knife cuts and the things that they can do with razors and things like that. They're very dangerous. Anyway, I'm going to meet somebody with the force that they meet me with or above in order to stop the threat. Now, stopping the threat, when we talk about police shooting to kill, they're not trained to shoot to kill. And you can look that up, which is why you don't see a lot of headshots, which is why you don't, and there's a reason, because there's a reason. If, I wish I had a diagram to show you like a target or something, but most people, when they shoot, they shoot with the tip of their finger or the back of this part of the finger. They never shoot right in the middle area there. And it also depends on the type of firearm that you have and what you train with. If you shoot enough, you'll know your weapon. You know how to pull the trigger. If you train enough and you practice enough, you know how to put rounds on target. Most people don't understand things about sight picture, stress picture, shooting under stress and things like that. It's a lot different from just going to the range and pulling the trigger and shooting in a stationary place. When you have your heart rate's up, your adrenal glands and adrenaline are pumping, you're not going to look to make a headshot, nothing like that. You're going to stop the threat. Stopping the threat means this: if that person is advancing and you stop them from advancing towards you via either they die, they drop the knife, they comply, you have stopped the threat. Now, if they should happen to bleed out in the situation, so be it. They've already made the decision on forfeiting their lives when they picked up a knife or a gun to come at you. Now this cop gets out, he sees the threat, stops it. Does he know she's 15? No. Should he have shot her 4 times? I think so. You don't shoot someone and then you say, well, let me see how they respond to this bullet. There's been situations that have been recorded where people have continued to come forward and continue to cause damage after they've been shot. YouTube it, Google it, FBI statistics. You can do what you want with that. Now let's get to the emotional side of it. She's 15 years old. Again, I said I got a 15-year-old at home, and that's what caught me. Without reading what was going on, I saw a 15-year-old headline, and that immediately struck me. We talk about police reform, and immediately, emotionally, without looking at the consequences of police reform. I think that we are headed toward a place where police are going to have their hands tied in a situation to where once they do show up, they're not going to get out of the car and help. Now, imagine if that cop did that. Imagine if you watch that video. Now, you don't respond if you haven't watched the video. Imagine if you watched that video and that cop sat there and did nothing, and he allowed that girl to stab the other girl, right? It would have been a whole nother argument and a whole nother emotional state at that point. Imagine if we don't know all the scenarios. For instance, this girl's getting jumped. She feels like her life's in danger. We don't know that those other people were armed or not, which is why she could have been armed with that knife. We don't know a lot, but to jump to the racial aspect of things and saying, oh, he shot her because it was a person of color. And then you go into comparisons to mass shooters. Okay, let's do it. Usually when they capture mass shooters, they comply. Usually when they catch these mass shooters, they comply. But when people respond and say, oh, this white person got away and they didn't kill him, it's almost like you want them to kill somebody as a equal measure. If you get what I'm saying, it's almost like you want them to kill somebody versus them having their day in court. Now, we can make the argument that, police are more aggressive toward black people. I just told you that they are. There's a reason why. Because we act a fool on this side of the road. We usually act more emotional and loud and more boisterous, and we move a lot and we do a lot of stuff to draw attention. It's just that's who we are. Truth. This is not me being anything other than truthful. Hell, I've done it. You see it all the time. And a lot of times it gets us in trouble. So I always say this, don't be led by emotions, but go by what you know to be true. Facts matter. Your emotions don't. Somebody once said, fuck your feelings. True story. Fuck your feelings. Facts matter. And the fact of the matter is this. She acted emotionally and recklessly. The adults that were out there still arguing and fighting did her a disservice by not disarming her and by fighting with her. And then we get mad and upset and scream, oh, you shot that baby when that baby had a knife. What are we doing here, folks? I put myself in that situation. And I look at things logically. If I'm in that same situation, I don't know if that girl's 15 years old. I see a knife. I'm not going to try to talk to her. I'm not going to try to use a taser. Guys, if you get an opportunity to look at the effectiveness of a taser and why they use them and why they don't use them, you need to do some research and studies on those things. Look it up. There's information out there. You got this smartphone right here, has a plethora of information out there to use. Don't use Google too much though. Use something like DuckDuckGo. It's not censored like Google is. But Look up this information, man, before you get emotional. You don't use a taser because in a situation like where somebody is actively using deadly force against someone, because we already know that tasers don't 100% work. You don't shoot to wound or aim for a limb, which is why you don't see a lot of headshots. Again, because that's a moving target. It's harder to hit. And again, police aren't trained to kill; they're trained to stop the threat. So I think you know, you know, this is a sad. I mean, I don't think this is a very sad situation. It's unfortunate. And I think the adults that were out there let that young lady down, and now we have this result of her being dead. So before you go out there and get to rioting, think logically. We are setting ourselves up for failure. They have already have laws now, Florida and a few other places, possibly I think here in Arizona, where they are about to start rewarding you for your efforts in a protest that turns to a riot, which means if you're protesting peacefully and it turns to a riot, you're going to be held accountable and charged for that. So you got to be careful. You can't pray for the rain and not expect the mud. We want police reform. Police reform is going to come with less police officers, less folks responding to your situation, which means you're going to have to put yourself in a situation to be your own first responder. A lot of us are not emotionally or physically equipped to do so. Meaning, if somebody breaks in your house and you call the police, they don't show up, it's on you to save your life. I think that people should do that anyway. You should be your own first responder. I don't think you should ever depend on the well armed historians to save you. You are responsible for your own life. Just like this young lady was responsible for her actions by picking up that knife and going after somebody while the police were there, she's responsible. Um, and it cost her life. So I just wanted to get on here and talk about those few things. And if you guys have questions or if you want to respond to this, hey man, just hit me up at Aaron at MondaysOverFridays.com. Um, like, share, and comment on this topic here in the YouTube channel. Facebook, it'll be up on Facebook. So I like to hear what you guys think about this matter. And if you guys want to reach out to talk to me, because I know a lot of times the message is lost in translation through text, we get emotional and some things are missed, and we kind of um, don't understand each other through text. Shoot me a email, and then we can exchange numbers and talk and call, or we can set up a Zoom call and talk about some things. So this is again Aaron with Mondays Over Fridays. We'll catch you next time. Bringing great content to you. Check out our new podcast. It just came out. It'll be posted up today on our site. You can get our podcast, Mondays Over Fridays, at apple.com. You can, or Apple Podcast, you can get it on Spotify. We'll be on YouTube. And I hope you guys enjoy the content and what we have to bring to you guys in a different aspect. So again,